Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Plot Twist Radio, the show where we explore the unexpected turns behind creativity, innovation, and the people shaping the future. Today's guest is someone who quite literally studies that future. Daniel Burrus is a globally recognized futurist, keynote speaker, and strategic advisor who has worked with Fortune 500 companies, government leaders, and organizations around the world to help them anticipate disruption and turn change into opportunity. He's the author of several influential books, including the New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller Flash Foresight. His works explore how individuals and businesses can identify hard trends that will happen and solve trends that can be shaped. In this conversation, Daniel shares how he went from teaching biology and physics to building innovative companies and eventually dedicating his career to helping people see the invisible opportunities hiding in the future. We talk about AI and why it should augment human thinking rather than replace it, how leaders can anticipate disruption before it happens, and why sometimes the key to solving a problem is actually skipping the problem entirely. It's a fascinating conversation about technology, strategy, and the human side of innovation. So let's jump in. Hello, Daniel, and thank you so much for joining Plot Twist Radio. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, like all of us, there are many chapters in the book of life, and I'll do it very quickly. And that is, I started out teaching biology and physics. Then I had an idea for an airplane design, so I built it, test flew it, and ended up with 37 national locations in the first year. It literally took off. And within 2 years, I had started 4 different companies, all very innovative, doing things that hadn't been done before, and they all were doing really well. However, I missed the teaching part. So I took myself out to being in my late 90s thinking, if this is what I'm doing in my professional life, am I happy? The answer was no. So I sold those businesses and started what I do today. And that is, I've written 7 books, thousands of articles. I do consulting and speaking, helping people to see how much certainty there is in this uncertain world, how to actively shape the future, how to solve impossible problems, see invisible opportunities, and I've given thousands of keynote speeches around the world. As a matter of fact, just before this, I was doing a virtual presentation to 2,000 people in Africa for a couple of hours and went really well. So I'm doing live, virtual, all over the place.
That's really impressive. And I love that you started in education. I root is in education. I teach history, not biology, but I feel like as educators, we love to spread out and just explore the world and all of the opportunities out there.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think I don't really have a job or a career. What I really have is a calling. And I was given some gifts, and I'm just using those to try to help shape a better tomorrow and empower people.
So you're known globally as a futurist and a strategist. Was there a moment early in your career when you realized anticipating the future could be taught rather than maybe just guessed?
Yeah, I have always been thinking about the future going way back because I've had an interest in a wide variety of technologies. I've always been very interested in that. And again, I'm not just a nerdy guy. I did put myself through college playing lead guitar in a rock band, so I got some balance here. But uh, but the reality is, whenever I would read about a new innovation, and this is going back to my high school, college, and so on, I was always thinking about the future impact of it. So somehow I was kind of thinking that way, but I hadn't thought about doing it and empowering others, as you suggested. So it wasn't until I sold those other companies and started doing what I do today. I spent a year doing research, looking at all the latest innovations in all the areas of science and technology because I knew there was something unique coming together. There were a number of technical forces coming together that was going to change our lives, change our future. By the way, this was decades ago. All right. And I came up with the methodology, and I had a literal epiphany. I really did. I had an epiphany because I had been, remember, this is years ago. So I was young. I was working probably 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week for a year, absorbing all of this stuff. And I remember distinctly all of a sudden, boo, I saw the future. I saw our smartphone future way before there were smartphones. I saw our digital future. I saw our AI future. I just saw the whole thing. And what am I going to do? Run out in the street and say, hey, I saw the future. So, but I could see it clearly, and I could see most people were clueless. They didn't get it. And since we're going to spend the rest of our life in the future, it's a good thing to think about it. So I developed some methodologies. I started writing, I started speaking, and it's all kind of unfolded from there.
Yeah, for sure. And I credit you and so many like you with seeing what the future could hold because we live in such an amazing technological world, and I'm shocked by it every day. I know a lot of people are fearful of AI, and I get that, but I also like it, and I think that there could be like a balance where we can embrace it, use it to our advantage, but maybe not let it take over the world.
Well, yeah, exactly. And by the way, I also do strategic advising to the Joint Chiefs, the DoD, Google, Microsoft on AI and things like that. In other words, I know stuff I can't even tell you. But but here's what I would say. First of all, we live in an increasingly technological world, but let's remember we live in a human world. And it's all based on relationships. And good relationships are all based on trust. So we need a human first approach to AI rather than an AI approach. Secondly, it can do amazingly bad things, but it can do amazingly wonderful things. So here's what I'm going to suggest. All of you today, all of you, I would suggest are good people. Why don't we use it to do amazingly wonderful things while we protect ourselves from the bad people that are doing amazingly bad things? And that means having zero trust. So if you get something from your bank in a text message or in an email, immediately don't trust it. If I get something from somebody I don't know, I already don't trust it. If I'm hearing something on social media that's news, already I don't trust it. I need to verify. And by the way, this is my advice to all of you. We need to verify before we share with others because trust is hard to come by and easy to lose.
Yes,
And I've had so many people tell me things that turned out to be completely not true, which makes what? Me trust them less.
right.
So I want everyone to trust all of you a lot. So that means we got to double check our sources, do a little more critical thinking, verify some of these things before we start sharing it with others, even if it's family and friends, so that we can be seers of the truth rather than spreaders of whatever is coming our way.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that, especially on like X, I want to call it Twitter still, and Facebook, you'll see a meme and it'll have all these facts on it, but they're not really facts. And people take it at face value and then it just spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, exactly. And again, people can say anything they want on the on social media and on the internet and so on. So I think it's up to us to be able to do that. Something else on AI, and that is there's a reason we call it artificial intelligence. It's not human intelligence, but it can do things we can't do. By the way, we can do things it can't do. So over time, what we'll find is it will augment our thinking, not replace it. Matter of fact, let me give you a really good example so that you can all kind of clearly see our role in the future of AI. And that is, let's say you know someone that has cancer. They'll probably need an oncologist. That's the doctor that treats people that have cancer. And right now, AI has absorbed globally everything about oncology. It knows all the chemotherapies that have ever been done, all the MRIs, all the skin cancers, all that stuff. It's got all that. AI's got that. More than it knows more about that kind of stuff than any living oncologist. So, if you know someone with cancer, I'm going to give you three choices. Choice number one, a really good oncologist. Choice number two, just AI. Choice number three, a really good oncologist that has access to AI. There's your future. So you see, it's assisting us in helping us to get quickly what we don't have access to, what we wouldn't be able to keep in our heads. But yet we live in a human world. We still need that human interface. And one other thing, as long as you brought up the subject of AI, it helps you get 80% to whatever you're trying to do fast, but not 100%. It's a first draft assistant, not a last draft assistant. So it's freeing us to do higher level work by helping us with the lower level things. And there's something I'm sure you've all heard about called AI slop. And AI slop is people being lazy and having AI write things, putting their name on it and just putting it out there. Pictures, graphics, all that stuff. And it's slop because it's not human. It's AI. It's artificial intelligence, even though it sounds pretty good. So we got to remember it'll help get us 80% there, but not 100%. It's you have the ability to understand relationships. You have empathy. You know how to communicate versus inform. You know how to collaborate versus cooperate. You can do things as a human that AI can't do. We need to add that part in.
Yes, absolutely. So you've worked with Fortune 500 leaders across industries. What's one misconception executives have consistently been fearful of as far as the future goes?
The amazing amount of uncertainty and them getting disrupted. See, what keeps a CEO awake at night, and I work globally with CEOs all over, including presidents, prime ministers, and so on, it is disruption. Because once you are disrupted, now you have to crisis manage and put out fires, and they're worried about that. But what I write about and help people do is realize that um, actually, in this uncertain world, you can learn to anticipate, find certainty. There's thousands of things you can be certain about other than death and taxes. And once you start understanding how to separate what I call hard trends based on future facts that will happen from soft trends that may or may not happen, I could give you some examples in a minute, but once you can separate those, you can actually see disruption before it disrupts, turning disruption into a choice. You can see problems before you have them so you can pre-solve them and move forward faster. I mean, how many times have we said, I knew that would happen? Well, then why did you let it? Well, that's because we didn't trust our thinking. But what if you could? What if it was based on a future fact that we know will happen? Quick example, because I threw out the idea that there is certainty, there is future facts. Let me just give everybody a couple of simple examples. In the wireless world, we went from 3G wireless to 4G wireless. We're now at 5G wireless. Is that it? No, we'll have 6G followed by 7. If you don't like AI, can you turn it off? No, it will get more powerful. But it's not the tool, it's how you use it that's important. It's how we use it, right? So, how about demographics? In the United States right now, 10,000 people are turning 70 every day. Every day. Think about that. By the way, they're going to get younger all of a sudden. No, hard trend, they're going to get older. And we could predict a lot of problems and pre solve them or just let them play out. So once you start seeing how to identify what I call hard trends and find certainty in this uncertain world, then all of a sudden you have the confidence to make bold moves.
Interesting. I love how you laid that out there because it's something that we don't really think about. And like you said, yes, there's so many times I thought I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should have did that. And now look at me, I missed an opportunity. And I think we got to get to where we kind of trust ourselves a little bit more. Maybe, like you said, research a little bit more about what could or could not happen. Because there have been many times that I have been in a situation where I wish I would have pulled the trigger. You know what I mean? Just went
Sure.
through with it, but I
Well,
held
you
back.
just made a statement I want to help you and everyone with. What could or could not happen? You were used the word could both times.
Mm.
So what I'm doing is saying, actually, you can come up with here's what will happen versus here's what might happen. Those are very different. Those are very different things. So, for example, a lot of baby boomers will be retiring, taking their knowledge and wisdom with them. Well, there were two different things in that comment I just made. There'll be a lot of baby boomers retiring. Hard trend, gonna happen for sure. Taking their knowledge and wisdom with them when they leave. That's a soft trend. You could do something about it or not. For example, we could start having a mentoring, having the old mentor the young. So we could start before they leave. We could create a knowledge base and a wisdom base, which I'd rather have than a database, by the way. Or we can just let them go with their wisdom. You see, so the thing I love about a soft trend is if you don't like it, you can change it. The thing I like about a hard trend is I can see the future clearly. Let me give you another example and let you decide. I'm going to put you on the spot in front of everybody now. All right.
All
And
right.
don't worry about being wrong. It's okay. You're just learning.
Okay.
So, over the last number of decades, healthcare costs in the United States have been going up, 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 going up, 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 up. And by the way, that's called the trend. Now, is that a hard trend based on a future fact, or is it a soft trend?
I would say that it is a soft trend just because it can be changed, but it has to be a lot
Yeah, well,
to
you
make it
are
change.
exactly right because you used the see, you're starting to get it already.
Yes.
So most people think it's a hard trend. Why? Logic says it is. It's been going up for decades. So surely it must just keep going up. By the way, we could let it keep going up, but we don't have to.
Right.
It's actually a soft trend. See, this is how it's so empowering. So if I know it's a soft trend, I ask myself, how can we make it go back down? By the way, an aspirin in a hospital costs $25. Now, if you knew that, you would have your spouse bring it. You see, you didn't know that artificial knee that you're having being put in because you played too much tennis, that it can vary in price. Same knee by the same company, same size, can vary by 100%. See, we don't know any of that. But what if we put all of that on a blockchain? By the way, blockchain is extremely secure, can't be tampered with, and it's transparent. Now we can see the prices of everything. What would happen? Prices would come down because you wouldn't be able to compete with those insane prices. You couldn't charge 25 bucks for an aspirin anymore.
Right.
So there's actually a blockchain for healthcare that in their first round of funding got $100 million, and that was the first round of funding. Now, I'm just giving you one example of things that we could do to lower healthcare costs. So what I'm trying to get across here is I love soft trends. Why? You don't like them, you can change them. I love hard trends. Why? Because I can see the future before others see it. I can get certainty in a seemingly uncertain world. There's far more than death and taxes.
Yes. Thank you for teaching me that. I needed to learn that, so thank you. So this kind of leads me into your book, Flash Foresight.
Yep.
It became a New York Times bestseller. Congratulations there. What do you think resonated most with the readers? Would it be the hard and soft trends or?
Yeah, well, Flash Foresight, and not only was it a New York Times Wall Street Journal bestseller, but I'm really proud to say it was number one on Amazon in all books, including fiction, for like 3 weeks. And very few business books ever do that. So that's even, frankly, bigger than the New York Times. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're number one in all of,
That's amazing.
Am- yeah. So basically, the title was Flash Foresight: How to See the Invisible and Do the Impossible. And I think what resonated is humans have been doing the impossible ever since we set foot on this planet. I mean, let's face it, glasses were impossible, chairs were impossible, everything was impossible. So, how do humans turn the impossible into possible? When an invisible solution for a seemingly impossible problem becomes visible, all of a sudden we can solve it. So, what I did was I came up with triggers, 7 triggers that could trigger making the invisible visible, giving you a flash of foresight, allowing you to move forward from instead of being stuck. And they were powerful. They were easy. I wrote it in a story. You know, I'm a storyteller. I give speeches all over the world. So I wrote it in story form. And a lot of it was contradictory thinking, just like you would think. Most people just think the only thing you can be certain about is death and taxes. And I was saying, wrong. Or another principle Let me give you a different one other than trends, and that is problem skipping. Now, think of your biggest problem right now. You don't have to tell me what it is. I'd like you all to think of your biggest problem. I'd like you to skip it. Why? Because it's not the real problem. That's why you're stuck. You're stuck because it's not defined correctly. There's a problem underneath that's the real problem, and that is totally solvable. That makes the invisible visible. I'll give you two quick examples so you know what I'm talking about. A simple one. My niece, Hallie, called. She has her first job, and she can't save any money. And she said, I'm really trying to save money, but I can't save money. And she knows it's possible because her older sister can save money. But Hallie, it just is gone. So I'm trying to save money. And I said, well, hey, Dad, you're working on the wrong thing. Why don't you work on how you spend your money? She did that, and all of a sudden, she started saving money. Let me give you another one. There was a hotel chain I was working with. They had a dozen new hotels. And when they went live, people were staying in them. They were getting complaints in all of them about the slow elevators. And by the way, you can't just speed an elevator up. It doesn't work like that. You'd have to tear the whole thing down. So it seemed like an impossible problem. Not at all. The wrong problem. What was the real problem? Well, people noticed it was slow because they were bored to tears waiting. Let's give them something to do. So what did we do? We put a mirror right by every elevator. Guess what? All complaints went away because now you're looking at your dress, checking your tie. Oh, the elevator's here already. All complaints went away. See, they're working on the wrong problem. It wasn't about the speed of the elevator. It was about the boredom of the people.
That is a powerful statement.
Let me give you another fun one. This is an old one, but it's really kind of fun. I know everyone has probably seen the original Jaws movie, right?
Mhm. Yep.
All right. It almost didn't happen. Steven Spielberg was directing it, everything. They could not get a shark to look real. It looked fake. And they were about to have that. They've tried for months and months and months, and no matter what they did, it looked like a fake shark. So they were about to have to scrap the whole thing until they decided, let's skip the problem. Why don't we show what the shark sees when it's looking underwater? Remember?
Yes.
Let's skip
That's
showing
right.
the shark. And then later in the movie, once you bought into the movie, we'll show the shark. And even though it looks fake, you don't care. It seems real now because you're in the movie.
Yeah.
That's how to skip a problem.
That is ingenious. It really is.
So it's problem skipping. Now, those are two of all of those things. Again, because they're kind of insightful and cool. All of those principles in the book and they were all told in story form. I made it for humans to be able to get it, individuals, as well as for businesses. It went really, really well. And my book after that, the Anticipatory Organization, did something similar. And I'll also, knowing that this is for writers, I'll share another one you may not have asked me, but I think you'd find it interesting. One of my earlier books called Flash Foresight, which was another international bestseller. That one I had characters in it. I had 7 characters, and I had never written a book with characters ever. And here's what I found was interesting. Once I defined the characters and I started writing the book, they started writing the book for me. So as I was writing what Maury was saying, all of a sudden one of the other ones would interrupt in my head. Well, of course they would interrupt. Of course, that's what they would say. So I typed that in there. So actually, the characters started writing the book for me once I defined. I mean, what an amazing thing. So I'm just giving you, and by the way, that was a huge bestseller. So I'm just giving you, play around, experiment. It's amazing what you discover.
No, you bring a really good point up as far as characters go because I started in academic writing, So, I'm very academic oriented, but I wanted to try fiction. And I noticed once I got into it, I couldn't stop. That was my niche. I had the character speaking to me, and you really get into that mindset.
Yeah, I would have never known that because I've never really had a writing course on how to write, other than in college, just taking English and those kind of things.
Mm.
So I just needed characters for this book because this was Technotrends. very complex thing what I was teaching. There were 24 new technologies that was going to be changing our lives. I wanted to talk about that nobody knew about. And I had all the 30 different strategies you could use to apply to these technologies to do amazing things with them. Well, boy, that's a lot in a book. How can you do that? So what I did is I created a card game. So I created, 24 tool cards, 30 strategy cards. I had, some wild cards. I had a joker, which was government red tape and regulation. And that's where I had the characters because I invited them over to my house to play cards. And so I was able to take something that would have been way too complex for any book, would have gone whoop, right over everybody's head and made it fun. That's what I did with that book.
And that's how I could tell that you have an education background because I notice when it comes to teaching, if you make it interesting, you can teach anything. But if
Oh,
you
yeah.
just give them just the words that are in the textbook, they're not going to pay attention. But if you make it interesting, you really can grasp a huge audience.
Yeah, you got to bring things to life. And it's all about story. He who has the best story wins. So it's about, really it is about story.
Yes. So, anticipatory organization. That is a very interesting one. I was reading that one over the weekend and I learned a lot, really. One question I wonder is what separates organizations that react from those that truly anticipate?
Well, because of the rapid pace of technological change, everyone, all the companies, all the CEOs, everybody has embraced being agile. I'm sure you've heard that phrase.
Mhm.
And you've heard the word pivot too. You got to pivot now because something's happened. But remember that agile came from sports and it is being able to react as quickly as you can to a problem after it occurs or reacting as quickly as you can to a disruption after it disrupts if you put it in a business context. So that is one half of the strategy coin. It's a reactive. By the way, if we were in sports, we would call that playing defense. But if all you know is defense, you're not going to be doing too good. You need a little offense here. And the world is changing so fast, just playing defense gets less valuable over time.
Mm.
So learning to be anticipatory, using those hard trends and those soft trends to anticipate what will happen before it happens so that you can again turn change into opportunity and advantage. So the companies that are focusing on pivoting and fast reacting actually are having increasingly having problems because change is happening faster than they can react to it. You're always behind the curve. But those that are learning how to anticipate are doing extremely well.
Yes, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Thank you so much for joining me. I've learned so much. I haven't learned in a long time and I am not a business person. You can ask my husband. He tries to tell me all this, all these business terms and I just like glaze over, but I actually learned stuff today. So thank you for that.
Well, good, good. I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Absolutely. So where can the audience find you?
Well, you could go to burrus.com, burrus.com. I've got a lot of resources you can download for free. As a matter of fact, you brought up the subject of AI earlier. I have actually used and tested 1,500 AI tools. Not many humans have done that. And a lot of it was junk. You've probably seen lists of here's some good tools to use. A lot of those don't work. So what I did is I put out a free report and it covers the top 5 tools. By the way, you can try them for free. And if you like them, they're about 20 bucks a month. And in a number of categories. Most people don't even know the categories. And I have case studies, how it can be used, how to prompt. If you'd like that, you can go to AIstrategyreport.com and download it for free. So I'm just giving you another resource. And obviously, you could pick up a copy of Flash Foresight or the Anticipatory Organization and learn more about all of this. One other little thing, LinkedIn. Daniel Burrus. I've got, I think, 1.2 million followers there. The reason I have so many followers is I share a lot of good stuff. Join the party.
Awesome. I will. I need to spruce up my LinkedIn. It's been a little bit. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
That was my conversation with Daniel Burrus, futurist, strategist, and best-selling author of Flash Foresight. One of the things I really loved about this discussion was Daniel's perspective, and the future isn't something we simply react to. It's something we can anticipate and actively shape. Whether it's understanding the differences between hard trends and soft trends, learning to verify information in a world of AI and digital noise, or even rethinking how we approach problems entirely. There was so many insights packed into this episode. If you enjoyed this episode of Plot Twist Radio, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves exploring big ideas and the unexpected turns behind success. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Plot Twist Radio.